Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, this is our Commissioners Board meeting for June 10th, 2026. I just want, before I even start, I just want to say that we are having some audio issues, possibly with the Civic Clerk. So if you're on Civic Clerk and you can actually hear me now, if you have problems for our live streaming, please join the meeting on Teams at 1-971-254-3149. And the meeting ID is 866-914-607 #. Also, the Teams recording will be posted soon after this meeting, so it'll be available for viewing if you end up having problems. So today's topic is of the county's district attorney investigation report and developments. Brian Leibel, our county counsel, will begin the presentation today.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I want to update you on several developments since the completion of the county's investigation into complaints related to the district attorney's office. For the benefit of the public, the county initiated an independent investigation into complaints submitted to the county's Human Resources Department by members of the public and county employees regarding the district attorney's office. The complaints related to professionalism, prosecution of crimes, treatment of victims, family members, treatment of victims, family members, and criminal justice partners by DA office personnel, and interactions between county law enforcement and the DA's office employees. It is important to note that the district attorney is a state official elected by the voters of Tillamook County. However, the DA office staff or county employees, hence the county's responsibility to look into complaints regarding the performance and behavior of the DA office staff. The investigation report includes interviews with the district attorney and the DA office staff, to include deputy DAs and a victim advocate to provide information and to share their experiences and perspectives. The district attorney declined a second interview to continue to explain decisions on criminal cases and procedures and the supervision of county employees. The report's findings were also based on the district attorney's own statements about her office during her first interview. The report substantiated 35 specific complaints to include poor engagement with victims and agency partners, to include not believing victims' testimony, hostility towards victims, victim advocates, and law enforcement, failing to meet management and public service best practices, including adequate training and supervision of deputy district attorneys, unwarranted public reprimands of subordinates, and failure to respond to community complaints in a timely manner. They also include deficient charging, preparation, and trial practices, including the handling of child abuse and domestic violence cases, resulting in concerns for victims and community safety, and failing to present viable cases to a grand jury or bring charges on serious crimes. The county shared a copy of the report with the district attorney once it was completed, and offered HR assistance to address some of the substantiated findings. As I understand, the county has not received any communication from the district attorney for HR assistance to address personnel issues or any county assistance to implement other changes. Now, as for developments since the investigation, the county recently received an email from an email that was sent from a DA office employee to a criminal defense attorney who shared it with the county out of concern. And that was sent the week of May 25th. The email states that the district attorney had directed that the DA office employee to distribute parts of the investigation report that included whistleblower testimony to a defense attorney representing the defendant in a pending criminal case. Now, just to define what a whistleblower is someone who in good faith reports illegal activity, waste, fraud, gross mismanagement, or abuse of authority. State law and county policy protects employees from retaliation for reporting on these things. The email states, quote, our office has taken the position that the investigation report may be exculpatory with the credibility of the witness that we would be calling. So in simpler terms, what this the statement means is that the DA's office was telling the defense attorney who was receiving this email to use the information from the investigation report that included the whistleblower's testimony to use it to question the whistleblower's credibility as a witness for the benefit of the defendant's case, while simultaneously undermining the DA's own case against the defendant and undermining justice for the, in this particular case, a child victim in a sex abuse case. And that email includes a statement from the district attorney, which states that the whistleblower during the county investigation exaggerated, misrepresented, or otherwise inaccurately depicted the facts that the whistleblower shows a level of contempt toward members of the DA's office, showing a potential bias and lack of competence in criminal law and procedure. So to be clear, while the prosecution, right, the district attorney or any deputy district attorney has an obligation to turn over evidence in its possession helps a defendant's case, one's own opinion on what the whistleblower said to the investigator is not exculpatory evidence. It must show that being exculpatory evidence must show that the whistleblower, what that person said was wrong, and that they knew it was wrong or had a careless disregard for the facts. And this showing did not occur. The whistleblower in this case is a county law enforcement officer. So by the district attorney targeting their credibility, it can be career-ending because they won't be called to testify in any criminal case, which is a large part of law enforcement's job. This email from a county employee within the district attorney's office that is about a whistleblower and using their testimony against them is tantamount to retaliation. As a result, the HR department instructed the DA's office county employees to refrain from retaliating or taking any adverse action against the whistleblower. Now, in regard to a series of subpoenas, in mid-April, before the county investigation was available to be provided to the district attorney, the district attorney served the county with a grand jury subpoena that was not associated with any criminal case or charge, sought detailed information about the county investigation, which now the DA has a full report, complaints against the district attorney and the district attorney's office by the Board of Commissioners, by the Sheriff's Office, by the Oregon State Police, and by Tillamook City Police, among others. All right, so to be sure, this subpoena, which right is a grand jury subpoena here, right? It seeks complaints against the district attorney and anybody in her office from the Board of Commissioners, right, from the Oregon State Police. So anybody who has been complaining, and we have evidence, the county has evidence of that, that we're to turn over. The grand jury subpoena also sought information about certain law enforcement personnel and their HR records, and wanted to know how the county was paying for this investigation. Later in April, the district attorney served the county with 2 additional subpoenas, which are associated with a criminal case, again seeking information related to the county investigation into complaints against the DA's office, complaints against the DA's office personnel, and communications about the district attorney and the district attorney's office personnel, and HR records, again, for certain law enforcement employees. And so some of this information that was being subpoenaed in these 2 additional subpoenas related to criminal cases, we're seeking information that was beyond the scope of the criminal case and again, related to the investigation that the county had conducted into the district attorney's office. The county has filed motions to quash the subpoenas, arguing most of this information that the district attorney was seeking was not relevant to a criminal case or charge, and that the district attorney stands to personally benefit from use of this criminal process, the subpoenas, and that the district attorney had a conflict of interest in using this criminal process to seek information about her and her office. Since the county has filed these motions to quash, the district attorney has recused herself and has appointed a criminal defense attorney as a special deputy district attorney to represent the state on these district attorney subpoenas. The hearings for the county's motions to quash are Tuesday, June 16th at 9 a.m. and at 9 a.m., 10 a.m. At the Tillamook County Courthouse. In addition, since the reporting of the county investigation in local news media, I have received 2 phone calls from individuals who had family members who were victims and wanted to share their unhappy experience that they had with the district attorney's office. And so, again, I just wanted to recap not only as far as the county's investigation and its findings, but also what has transpired since then that's related to the investigation.
Typically, we do a weekly updates. We're not doing weekly updates for this one. So I was going to do an opportunity if anybody in the room wants to have any public comment. They're welcome to do this. This is really more of an informal meeting.
Your mic off.
Oh, sorry, I'll say that again. If anybody in the room wants to make any public comment, a couple minutes, they can, or online. If anybody wants to raise their hand, they can say something. Otherwise, we will move on. Okay.
You have a hand.
I'm just educating myself. I'm here as a victim.
Do you want to come up to the microphone?
Okay.
I really don't have anything to say. Here, working.
Well, thank you for coming in. I appreciate that. Thank you much. Well, Counselor, thank you for that. I'm going to probably turn some stuff over to my partnership because I get a little triggered here. But one of the things that really stands out for me right off the bat, and you were talking about it quite a bit, was I've spent 18 years as a union shop steward and a union member when I worked at the sheriff's office. And I see there's a lot of employees online. I have never seen a situation where a manager from another department is retaliating against a whistleblower from another department. I've never seen that. It's almost unheard of. I don't understand how this keeps getting stranger and stranger every time. It seems like every time we turn around, there's another piece of the puzzle. The criminal defense attorney representing the state and in this district attorney's office is also very strange and unheard of. You know, there are 36 elected district attorneys in the state, about 350 DDAs in the state, and I don't understand why we could not find one that would be willing to present this case for the motion hearing on Tuesday. So those are some of the things. There's a lot I have to say, but I need to gather my thoughts. So would one of you like to go a little bit? Is there something you'd like to start?
I don't mind. I don't mind starting.
I appreciate it. I just need a moment to gather.
Sure. So I have been aware that there were problems as a member of the Tides of Change Board, I've been aware that there were problems from the perspective of domestic violence victims and advocates for some time. I've heard about it. I've heard the stories about victims not being believed, victims not being interviewed at all, victims situations with a preponderance of evidence not being prosecuted, just being dismissed, or worse yet, being dismissed with prejudice so that they could never be tried again, and advocates being disrespected, people being treated brusquely, and sometimes even just rudely, and things just getting dropped, and victims ultimately the perception of the community is that, having been victimized criminally, they're then now being victimized by the system. And so this has been going on, and I've been hearing about it through that channel for some time. But the Board of County Commissioners isn't in charge of the DA's office. We're not in charge of the DA. It isn't, the DA is a fully elected official, just like we are. And so, and there was we are in general, we are a very polite culture, like our community culture. There was a lot of latitude for, people talked about this over and over, a lot of latitude for, well, let the DA find her feet, like let her get used to the job, let her figure it out. We want to build a relationship, we're like waiting for the time when the DA was going to step up and start representing victims. And that hasn't happened. And yet there wasn't anything we could do as a board to intervene. But in the meantime, the complaints were coming in. So the complaints were coming into us individually. They were coming into us through the channels of the other organizations we represent. And then also they started coming into HR. So what we could do is initiate an investigation. That's what we can do. And so we initiated an independent investigation. And the results of the investigation were definitive from my perspective. I'm not an attorney, but the attorney who did the investigation is a highly regarded professional. And that person identified 51 distinct complaints. And of those, 35 were founded. So 35 were, in that attorney's professional expertise, said 35 of these things happened and they were wrong. And so still we're in the position of what can we do about it? Not very much. So what our hope was that at the point at which the DA, the DA knew the investigation was happening before it was complete. That certainly was a warning that there was a problem. But our hope was that when the investigation was complete, the DA had the information. She would look at it and say, oh my gosh, we have some serious problems in our office. And then we could have helped. We could help through HR. The DOJ could have helped. It's like we would absolutely have stepped forward and supported any attempts to change, any attempts to rectify the problems. And that didn't happen. So what's happened instead is horrifying. What's happened instead is blatant retaliation against whistleblowers. And so that's what brings us to this point today. The whole thing, like to Paul's point about this just keeps getting crazier. The idea of using the criminal process, again, not an attorney, but using the grand jury process to retaliate against a county employee who is a whistleblower is mind-blowing to me. Trying to Brady a county employee, which would destroy his career as a retaliation for him participating in the investigation, is horrible. And it's our obligation to protect our employee, the whistleblower. So, we're very limited in what we can do, but what we can do is this. We're doing what we can do, and we're talking about what more we can do, and it's limited. So I'll pause there.
So can I jump in on a couple,
Please.
just add on to one of the things about the 35 founded complaints. The other thing that hasn't been mentioned is several of the other complaints of the 51 that were the ones that were unfounded. Unfounded is misleading because like in child abuse investigations, they can be considered unfounded. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. In this case, several, if not the majority of the cases that were deemed unfounded were because they were child sex abuse cases. And the investigator had no access to those cases. So it's not that something unethical or improper or beyond best practices wasn't done. It's that the investigator had no access to those cases. And I would say based on just the odds alone. So that's the other thing that's really important about that. And It's disgraceful. It's just horrible. I just wanted to add that part to it. And I also want to say the retaliation, the other thing that's interesting is that everything that was founded in the findings and report, the people that were brave enough to step forward, this was not the district attorney, this was not the BOCC that initiated the complaint process. We were receiving complaints. And as far as getting HR involved, because although we have nothing, we have no control over the district attorney, the DDAs in that office are county employees. And we had to do something because we had heard reports that other county employees were being mistreated or there was unprofessional activity. And although we probably have nothing we could do, we identified them. We gave that information to the district attorney saying, we're here to help. HR is here to help. Is there some training that we can do? Is there some updates we can do? Is there something that we can do to change the course of this? And I can tell you personally, because I was working at the sheriff's office, that you were spot on. There was a lot of leeway given. There was nobody that had when she was appointed, there was everybody wanted her to have the best shot possible. There was Bill was loved and he swore and he selected her and everybody was there. And it just slowly realized that the number of cases being dropped, the burden of proof at the police level, this is all in the report and it's all in the public, in her quotes to the newspaper, there's different burden. The police work under probable cause. That's how we do our job. That's how they do their job. They get probable cause, they get search warrants, they gather evidence, they gather witnesses, they gather victim statements, they put it together, and they send it to the DA's office. The prosecutor's job is to build upon that foundation and ask for more investigation, seek out more proof through lab work and DNA and all that stuff. That's all in the prosecutor's purview to make that happen. And the biggest thing, and I've spoken to several attorneys that left here, that used to work here, it's shocking to any attorney you asked, that any prosecutor you asked, that they weren't interviewing and prepping victims and witnesses before trial. And the statements were like, well, how do you even come up with your opening arguments if you don't even know for sure what the person you're calling is going to say? Because during a traumatic event, such as a domestic violence event, it's the heat of the moment. You're being interviewed by a police officer at 2:00 in the morning after you just got assaulted. You're not going to remember everything, but that's what's being written down. That's what's being forwarded. This should be a follow-up interview, or you should be typical good practice is you show that section of that report to the victim or the witness and say, this is what you told the deputy or the officer that night. Is there anything that you remember differently now or you remember more of? Because that kind of information comes out later. And I'm sorry, I can just jump all over the place. The other part of this is the unrealistic expectations of beyond a reasonable doubt when you give an officer 2 days to get a report to you is lunacy. And these things take time. We have time to schedule. I was a child abuse forensic interviewer. It takes time to set up interviews for these children who've been assaulted. It can take weeks sometimes. We don't want it to, but that's why we established our own local place to do that. But this kind of thing it was just a disregard, or if suspects weren't located and weren't interviewed, the case would be dismissed rather than a phone call made and say, we need an interview with the suspect, so please follow up. That didn't happen. The county even hired the DME that was also supposed to serve as possible assistance in some investigations. So there's personnel, and the police are willing to do follow-up. It's just it wasn't asked. So I'm sorry. I can go on. I'm gonna take a break and let you speak for a little bit.
Sure. No, I mean, this was not something that the Board of Commissioners entered into lightly. Each and every one of us had people in our offices, myself included, from my people that I know well from my previous life in the community services world, who were here angry and just not understanding why this was happening in our DA's office. It's not something that we went looking for. And we don't have control over the DA. We do not have control over that office. What's very frustrating to me is the way that the state is set up. The DA is an employee of the state, and that DA has control over county employees, over what they do, over how they're trained, over whether or not they receive any correction or support if something doesn't go well. But the county foots the cost of the liability of the decisions of the DA as it relates to staff.
And so the county doesn't have a whole lot of choice when we are receiving public complaints regarding to the services that are being offered by the county for which we hold the financial responsibility. If someone sues and it's found that what they're suing for in terms of incompetence is there, we're going to pay the price. It's going to be the county ourselves. It's going to be our insurance. We're going to have to deal with it. And yet we sit with our hands tied, only being able to ask pretty please to the DA, will you do something differently than what you're doing today? So it's put us in a really difficult position where we didn't have a choice. Our insurance, our liability was on the line. We had to know what was really happening in order to protect the entire county, which is the entire populace. So it's put us in a really difficult position. I don't have the law enforcement background. I don't have the ability to dig through all of that and really understand it at the depth of my colleagues, but I trust and believe my colleagues. And I trust and I believe the investigator that was hired. It was done as an outside investigation. We were completely uninvolved until the results came in, and that was intentional. That was intentional because we needed to not have anything that we may have heard previously or bias or any of those things for any of us be part of this. And that's where we sit today. We sit with an investigative report in front of us with a DA that works for the state who controls the county employees, and there's just little we can do. There was certainly a lot of hope that the DA would have at least engaged in a conversation with the county to say, you're right, I am the director of a department here at the county, and I want it to be the best department it can be. And I want to work with you to provide the best services and take care of my staff and give them the training and the things they need. And she has opted not to do that, which has again left us sitting in a very difficult and uncomfortable position. Everything we did all through this investigation was exactly what we would have done with any other department head and do with other department heads every time. If there's complaints, we investigate in that department and we invite that department head to work with us to solve problems. And that's not something she's opted to do. And so we sit here with a different set of options in front of us today. And I don't know if we want to talk about those yet, or if there's more that we want to dig into, but I certainly have some thoughts in regard to her actions as related to being a department head of the county, and things that we may want to change in our future if she is unwilling to work with us, which is what she has set forth so far.
Would you like to add some more? I have a lot that I'm sure it's gonna come to me or make it,
Do you want to, it sounds like Erin's ready to talk about next steps because she's super efficient.
Sorry, that's my way, right? I am the straight line person.
I do appreciate that. So
I do too.
I'm happy to do that. And if I get something to chime in, I will.
Okay.
No, but what I want to talk about before we talk about next steps is what I want for our community, what I want as a member of Tides of Change, what I want as a county commissioner, what I want as a citizen of Tillamook County. I want us to be a place where offenders are held accountable. I want us to be a place where victims are supported, where the victims know that they're supported by the system, and their families know, and the advocates know, where we care about crime and we'll do something about it. Not that it always works out the way it should, but that we'll do something about it. And that's what people have been saying to me. What are you commissioners going to do? What are you going to do? And so here we are.
And to that partnership, and to your words exactly, this is a district attorney that instructed staff and under her direction to remove from the sexual abuse response team's mission statement of helping victims and
Holding offenders
accountable. That I don't even understand where that comes from. Part of the things that some other district attorneys have said to me was that they became prosecutors because they were the voice of the victim, and they wanted to put bad people in jail and put the offenders in jail. And I feel like, and that attorney also told me that that's why they became a prosecutor, and that's a core value that seems to be missing. And I don't understand. And during the interviews in the investigation, which is public, everybody can see this, she didn't have an answer on why she wanted to be a prosecutor. So I don't know why she is a prosecutor if you don't have the core value of listening to victims. I am so proud of the stakeholders, some are sitting in here that participate in the investigation of these sex abuses and these child abuses and come every day to do the job. You know, if you look at the report, if you look at what has been said in the media, if you look at the quotes from everybody, including us, there has never been a personal attack on this person. It's been about process. It's been, we just want the process to be right. We want you to do the right job. The whistleblower in this case was doing their very good job of trying to bring offenders to be accountable. So some of these cases that, you know, that we don't have privy to, that I did when I was working there, are cases where there's an admission on the suspect and cases are still being dropped or being reduced to something. And there have been victims that have spoken to Brian regarding this and have spoken to the newspaper about this, and obviously have spoken to the investigator about this. We're not making this up. We are trusting, like you said, I'm trusting the people that were interviewed, because not one of them had a personal vendetta or an agenda other than, please help us to have justice for these victims.
We're believing victims.
We're believing the victims.
That's what we're doing. And I have
Any
also,
professionals that do that for a living.
right. And I've also heard from a number of people since this all came out, who did not talk to the investigator, but who wanted to talk to somebody, which was inevitable. It was inevitable that Brian's talked to a few people, that people would say, oh, finally, you people are finally paying attention. You know, I talked to a father who was outraged about the man who strangled his daughter was not prosecuted. I talked to somebody from Oregon Youth Authority who said we could always trust Bill Porter to prosecute youth who attacked staff. And that hasn't happened once with Auburn. You know, those are two of many examples of people who want to talk to us about what's going on and what's not going on.
Well, and I think the other thing is the role of the county in relation to the whistleblowers. And we've touched on this, but I think we can't say it enough, that we're now in legal territory. Once again, we have a whistleblower who has said, I am a whistleblower. There are statutory protections that come into place around a whistleblower. And so again, we as the county have a role that we have to play and want to play to protect people. We want people to feel comfortable and safe coming forward to say, I think something here is wrong. And when you're coming against the DA, that is a very powerful position in our community. Probably more powerful than any of the rest of us sitting at this dais. And so I think that is really an important thing to recognize and realize, is the courage that it takes to come forward against the head law enforcement person in the county who has the ability for our whistleblower potentially to ruin their career. I don't think people do that lightly. And so as the county, we also have a role there that we have to make sure we are taking seriously and protecting. So, you know, I think there's a lot of pieces.
I just want to ask Brian one question. We did attempt to request that the county employee that was, in our opinion, in HR's opinion, retaliating, there was a letter or a notice sent from HR. What was the response from the district attorney regarding that whistleblower, citing the statute for whistleblowers?
Commissioner, yes, once that email came to the county's attention, where it was disparaging the whistleblower and questioning his credibility and his competence, and the county HR sent a note to the deputy district attorney who had sent that email, and carbon copy to the district attorney, stating that this was amounted to retaliation, and that the district attorney's office knew that this person was a whistleblower because he had been identified as such, and that they should refrain from taking any more action, retaliation or any other adverse action against the county employee The I did get a response from the district attorney who did not see it as such. They again, she had seen it that this was that the whistleblower and his testimony in the investigation report that his what he was saying was flawed, was not accurate, and thus it went to his credibility. So the district attorney thought this was exculpatory evidence that she had an obligation to share with defense attorneys, and really did not see this as as retaliation.
Were we told to cease and desist?
And so, yes, the county was told to stop interfering with the district attorney's office.
So I just want to add to that. I have a unique perspective on this board where I was a county employee for 22 years, 18 of which, just about 18 as a union point. That's chilling to your point that the whistleblower protection is there for, it was an opportunity, it was a way for if someone had a complaint, not just using the union to help back you up, but the whistleblower is that sacred thing that you have that can keep, if there's an unsafe, if I had an unsafe supervisor that's advising me to violate the Constitution or search and seizure law or something, and someone says, just go do that. This is what happens in places where, something bad is happening, someone wants to report, but they fear retaliation. This is what retaliation looks like. This is a career-ending retaliation and a disregard for an ORS, Oregon State statute. It's a disregard for that on the basis of constitutionality. And if you understand and read the report, and everybody, if you read the people that came forward and were brave enough in the child abuse investigation and disabled Tillman Family Counseling, if these places where this is their job is to protect victims, these folks were afraid of retaliation, but they still came forward, and retaliation is proven to be true. And we can't even protect our own employees. We have a disregard for that. Someone who is disregarding Oregon State statute on a couple of different things, in my opinion, but yeah, it's just monumental to me.
Yeah, it is. So we can't change what the DA chooses. The DA has full rights to make the choices that the DA makes. That's something that we have affirmed through this process. Even though we bear, again, the liability and the cost related to employees, and the DA has opted not to work with us on that. So I have a couple of recommendations, one of which is to pull the DA's stipend. The DA is stipended by the county at just over $20,000 a year. And that is, in my opinion, because, and I believe statutorily as well, because she is supporting the running of our department, and as long as we are happy with her services, we pay her. I don't believe that we're happy with her services, and I would prefer not to pay her at this time. Her lack of coming to work with HR for me is a key point in that. I really thought and believed that when we said we are here, we have HR prepared, we're ready to work with you to make adjustments to your department, that we would see that as we would see with any department head. And so from my perspective, she's opted not to work for the county, and we ought to therefore not pay her to work for the county.
Counselor, is there can you touch upon that about the stipend? A lot of folks won't know more.
Yeah, yes, Commissioner. So there's a state law that allows the county to supplement a district attorney who is paid by the state. So the salary is paid by the state. But if the county was wanting to supplement the district attorney's income because they wanted that person's income to be commensurate with the performance that they were showing, right? That the county was wanting to pay them more because their performance warranted that additional stipend that then the county could approve to supplement her state salary. And so by the same token, if the county is not happy with the district attorney's performance, and they don't think that the district attorney is performing at the level, that the county expects, or that is, or that she's, what she's being paid is not commensurate with, how she is carrying out her duties, then that is certainly an option for the board.
I agree with my colleague. I think that what we're seeing now is just a doubling down of the problem. We're initially we had victims who were not supported in the system, and now we're creating new victims among our own employees. And so I agree with that.
And Rachel, how would, if there's a process for that, what would that be?
So the process would be, we're coming up on the new fiscal year, and the board is slated to approve the annual budget next Wednesday for COLA adjustments and new pay tables, which would go into effect July 1. So we can't make changes to the budget because of budget law and noticing requirements, et cetera, but you would give direction to staff and the finance director to make that appropriate change in what she presents on the 17th, and then you would vote as the Board of Commissioners in your budget adoption during the budget process. And then subsequently, when you adopt the fee table, it would not have the stipend for the district attorney on the elected officials pay table. So to summarize, you would give direction to staff to proceed with making that change for your approval on the 17th.
Moreover, I absolutely do not want the county to pay for the criminal defense attorney that the district attorney engaged in order to retaliate against our whistleblower. That's so outrageous to me. It just makes my head spin. And the
That's incredible. Yeah,
no,
great. Agreed.
Yeah, the county should not be paying to have a criminal defense attorney come after us. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Rachel, there's a policy about can you tell me about how departments get legal, it's the contractual, how do we do that?
Yeah, so in addition to that, I think it was sometime last year in an effort to streamline legal services approvals, the board adopted a policy where legal services contracts need to be approved by the chief administrative officer. And so there's no authority by the county either to enter into those legal services as well.
And did you receive,
No,
how did you find out that there was a criminal attorney that was,
through county council and the subpoena hearings.
I would agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I would as well.
And there's something else at this county that I know this before I came in was one of the things that plagued the DA that happens is you get bar complaints. And the county was asked by the district attorney to pay for insurance to protect that because and without insurance, they're responsible for fighting themselves. The state won't pay for bar complaint defense. And the board at the time, go ahead and do that. So I don't know if that's another one or not to look at.
it
I think
is.
it is. I mean, again, she's the liability that we are carrying for her decisions, which she has every right to make, but others have every right to challenge. And I don't feel good about her decisions and I don't want to pay to defend them.
And I know personally of a couple of bar complaints that will be going forward. Now, they might be covered because but what would be the process if the board decided not to continue providing that insurance coverage?
I think an affirmation here, and then maybe again during the budget hearings process that you're affirming, you haven't really done anything like this, but just affirming you do not want to pay it. That type of expenditure would normally be embedded in the district attorney's office budget, which you may or may not see the detail of. So I would just go on record to affirm that next week.
Okay, and then is it renewing? What's the deal?
So we are currently in the current fiscal year of the policy, and I believe it's set to renew July 1 of 2026. So the timing aligns if you wanted to not pay for it any further with approval of not doing that on June 17th.
I certainly don't want to pay for it.
No, I mean, for me, we have a huge risk, a huge financial risk that she has placed the county in relation to decisions she's made, decisions she continues to make that we're going to end up paying the price for. So I certainly have no intention of insuring insuring her personally against that. We're already paying to insure the county against that.
And while we cannot dismiss the DA, as we've stated clearly, what we can do is say that as a board, we don't have confidence in this DA. We can do that.
Yeah, we can do that. And I was reading an article, I don't remember where the county was in Eastern Oregon somewhere, I think recently they called it a resolution of no confidence. And I feel like we're there. You know, the people employ the DA, but most people do not have regular interactions with the DA. They don't actually know what is or is not happening with the DA. And I think our role, because these are employees in our department, they're at our piece of the county, we have this information. It is our responsibility to let the public know. And if this DA is doing absolutely everything they want her to do, she's golden, right? But if they don't know, they can't make a good choice. So I think for us, when we put forward, if we do choose to follow the model that I saw was a resolution of no confidence, that lets the public know that we don't feel good about it, that we who do interact on a more regular basis, we who did find ourselves in a position where an investigation had to be done, we don't feel good about it. And they have every right to request that investigation report. Everyone can request that report. It is a public document redacted to protect the whistleblower. People can make their own decision because that's ultimately what happens in our community, but they need information. And that's what we happen to have that a lot of the public currently does not, is information.
I will add that there's, and I said it earlier, there's a lot of information that we'll never get because of the type of cases that they are.
Yep.
And because victims and family members of victims, of young victims, don't want to come forward. They don't want to be identified as being victims of such a horrendous thing. I mean, these are really, I mean, I can tell you folks, the public, this is something that unfortunately, as a major crimes detective for 10 years, I saw a lot of it, but you know, when you hear some of it, and you read some of it, how upsetting it is.
It is.
It's the public, and the public doesn't know about these things. So we do. So I would agree, you know, a no confidence vote is something as a union member that, you know, it would have to have taken something really egregious, like something just monumental for that to be considered, like, you know, a crooked sheriff or something, somebody's robbing, you know, he's taking money or something crazy. This, to me, this rises to that.
It is monumental. It absolutely is. And you're right about reading through the report. You know, if folks, you can access the report if you want to. I thought the Headlight Herald did a very good job of summing up the report. But it's horrifying, you know, child sex abuse victims and disabled victims, you know, like the most vulnerable victims in our community, we're not taking care of. And it's,
We got no justice,
no, we got no justice.
no release.
No.
Release agreements when they were, if they even were arrested.
And that's really what I mean, that like the system is not supporting them through that. It's horrible enough that they had suffered the abuse that they did, and the system is not supporting them in the process of justice.
It was when I worked, the thing that with the DA's office, and all the DDAs would do this, is they would make sure that they would request a release agreement if someone was arrested for one of these violent crimes or sex crimes. And there would be a release agreement that would protect the victim while the thing ran its course. We're not doing that. It's not happening. There's horrible stories of contact between perpetrators and victims. So I'm sorry. I can just keep it. It's just. So I started as a police officer in 2001. This is unprecedented. This is not a couple of people complaining. This is not one or two people. These are people that have been involved with DHS investigating, saving children, pulling them out of unsafe homes. These are detectives like retired Michelle Raymond, who spent her career, 25 years with state police, and then another 10, I think, with us, just selflessly fighting for victims. And this is such an affront to them, and Sarah Dental sitting in the back here. People who have spent their careers, I feel like I'm in the same boat of that. It takes a certain, it does take a core value. It takes a mission. It's a mission. It's something more than just a job and just a paycheck. And it bothers me that I can take $20,000 away, and that's enough. I mean, that's all I can do. I can't do anything else. The public's gonna have to decide what they want to do. But this is an unprecedented thing that occurred, not what we're doing, but what has occurred in that office by that DA, what has occurred in these multidisciplinary teams, these MDT teams, which are staffing. These meetings were places where these cases were staffed with investigators, and this DA kicked this detectives that would do the investigations out, so they wouldn't even be privy to some of the early discussions during these things. I could go down the list, and more people wanted to be interviewed. I mean, we received way more reports than the people that were listed in the thing. I can tell you that. And I keep going back to this, but I thank the brave people that were willing to speak up because they did fear retaliation, and it's begun. And I don't know where it's gonna stop. So I felt like I had to do something to say, well, I've had enough. And the people can decide what they want to do with this district attorney, but I have no confidence anymore. And I know that the sheriff's office and other law enforcement agencies have tried. The court cases are down to nothing. These are objective facts that you can look up. How many cases have been filed? How many cases have been dismissed or referred? It's an objective fact that anybody can check. And I do encourage people to read the report and don't take my word. Don't take your word. Read the report. So I would say yes on a no confidence vote for sure.
And our agency partners can do that also.
That's exactly true.
So, if we choose, we won't choose anything today, but if we choose a resolution of no confidence, our agency partners who participated in the report, or maybe there are some who didn't participate in the report. Other organizations could also have a vote of no confidence.
In my opinion, there's the right side of this issue and the wrong side. You're either for the victims or you're not. And I know that sounds very simplistic, but there's no dog in the fight for these people that came forward and risked retaliation to report these things. There's no personal vendetta. This is truly about the victims. That's what they kept talking about. That's what they say in the report. There's no financial gain. There's no power over the district. The district attorney has proven that position has a lot of power. And that's been wielded they can be wielded for good, and it can be wielded for personal gain. And I think that's what's happening here.
Yeah, and the opportunity and the hope was that it be wielded for good, was that the information brought forward be a place for conversation, a place to work together to make it better. And that absolutely did not happen. In fact, it went, to your point, the other direction. So here we are.
So I would like to direct staff to maybe work on that resolution. Brian, if you could help and base it on the findings of the investigation and all of the things that we spoke about today. Is that something we would consider on the 17th?
We'll work on a draft to post with the agenda for Friday for your consideration on the 17th.
What I heard from someone who works with victims recently is that what they've learned in this process is that there are laws that are supposed to protect victims, but there's no accountability if the DA doesn't follow the laws. The DA doesn't have to follow the laws, and there's no accountability if they don't. So I understood that sentiment, but truly the accountability comes from the voters, right? Where the DA and each of us, we work for you. We work for the individuals in the community. We work for you. So, that's where this is what we can do in terms of accountability.
Yeah, that's correct. It's the way our government is built. Elected officials answer to the people. And this one is one where, again, the information needs to be out there so people can decide. Do they feel like they are being served in the way they wish to be served? And it is up to the people. So I will just take that the next step further, because I'm being asked in the community, and I think that I know Commissioner Bella has been as well. Why isn't the Board of Commissioners doing something to recall this DA? That is not something that the Board of Commissioners has any place in, and nor do we want to have a place in that. So I want that to be really clear. The Board of Commissioners does not have a place in that. That is the voters, that is the people, that is between the elected official and the people of Tillamook County. But I also want to be clear, because she is a state official, that happens with the state elections office. So it further step back. And when I say the Board of Commissioners does not, Tillamook County does not. It happens at the state elections level, as does her election. That is not part of what we do. So I just want to get that out there because the question is brought up and it's like, that's not for us. So.
Is this an open floor meeting? No.
Sorry. I've got nothing else. You have anything else?
So just to summarize direction to staff, we'll work on the resolution with the vote of no confidence, and working through the budget process to affirm that the county does not want to pay for the liability assurance, does not want to pay for criminal defense attorney costs in the subpoena hearing process, and removing the stipend from the elected official pay table.
All right.
Okay.
I just want to remind, I want to remind the public that this will be occurring at next week's board meeting.
Correct. Yeah, so Friday, we will have the agenda posted with these items on there, which will include the budget hearing information, and the board meeting will occur on June 17th, beginning at 9 a.m. It will be a robust agenda, but the budget hearing is included within that agenda.
I'm just wanted to say publicly, I'll be attending.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll be attending remotely because I might ask you to run the meeting. That's okay. And I would encourage any partners that are listening, or any public, or any victims, or anybody that just wants to come and watch the process, or there will be a public comment section at the beginning, like every meeting. And I would encourage everyone to come in here if that's what you'd like to do. So with that, I will adjourn this meeting. We have nothing else on the agenda today. We cleared everything. I'll adjourn this meeting at 2:56 p.m.